And you know, I think it's important that, you know, you as the, you know, kind of communication team is sort of understands that, you know, when we go to these competitions, a lot of times schools drop out, they don't participate anymore. Why? You can't find somebody who will put the work in. Yeah. That's the biggest reason. So, you know, I'm really grateful to all the teachers, the amount of work that goes beyond. Of course, our joy in it is you see these kids grow. You know, we had everything from one of our boys a couple years ago did all of his work at Carnegie Mellon, then he did his master's there at Carnegie Mellon. He's one of the top 5 students, and then we asked him, you know, what did you get most of your help from? He said, future problem solving. Taught me how to address problems, how to sort through stuff, so the skills he picked up there, you know, panned out for him further. And we just got a little notice from Hawkins School. They won the national debate thing with 14 members. 2 of them were Birchwood grads. You know, and their experience in the kind of research you do in History Day or in future problem solving, it pays back. So you see over a long period of time the benefits of these things. So we by no means want to drop them. So even when we bring new teachers on, we kind of warn them, don't take this job unless you're willing to come in a few years. I don't ask anybody right now, from 9 to 12 every Saturday, from the middle of October until, if we make the States, till the end of March. So it's a lot of work, but there's a lot of joy, you know, in seeing the progress the kids make. So anyway, that's part of the signature programs that pay benefits for just years and years and years, because the kids went through that experience in a positive way. But yeah, in this day and age, it really is counterintuitive that the joy in life comes out of making things happen, making things occur. And you don't think about how hard it was. You just think about, well, this was good. This was really good. You know, reward and no reward. Okay, so are there any other? I have a few, but you know, we could address salient issues.
I think we just touch upon signature programs. Would you go over that real quick?
Yeah. I'm going to use this morning, so I'll point to it right here. Can you see this graphic?
Oh, yeah.
The signature programs, where that fits in. Okay, those are chosen, and we have been working on this for 30 years to find programs that you may find 1 or 2 at different schools, but not a comprehensive, to do exactly what we do in the classroom, except on a much, much, much higher level. To give children experiences in respective disciplines, as deep as you can go at an elementary and middle school level, and to offer true, authentic experiences in subject matter. So like History Day, I don't think any of you have children yet in History Day. I mean, they go through the process, the historical process of a historian. How to research with primary sources, secondary sources, how to synthesize your information based on a theme, and then have some presentation before a professional panel. Sometimes they're showing their stuff to professors at universities who have told us in the past some of their work is better than what they get in college, the level of work. Not everybody, but you know, some do. So signature programs means your children are getting experiences way beyond even our classroom. You wouldn't be able to do all this in the classroom. That introduces them to subject matter at its highest level and gives them experiences in subject matter that sometimes turns them on for life because they experience it at the highest level. Poetry shows like that. I've never heard of a poetry show lasting for 32 years in my whole life. But when we meet with kids who graduated in 1989 or something, they can still recite all their poetry. And we passed out that little thing at the poetry show, the value of memorization. You know, that's at the core of it. But the appreciation for poetry, you know, you don't typically get that in classrooms. You can have a poetry unit, but not this immersion in poetry. Junior grade books is another part of the signature program. Junior grade books is, you know, I would describe it as the highest level of getting into literature. It comes from the Great Books program, that was founded at the University of Chicago in the 1940s, and then in the late 1950s, maybe early 60s, then they did a junior version of it. Gosh, I wish you all had more time, because I'd love to do a junior grades books discussion with you, or my wife. They're so engaging. You're attacking the short story and the author's intent, and what did he mean by this? And even at the youngest age, first grade and second grade, one of the stories is The Ugly Duckling, that the children read together in a group, 10, 12 at most. And then you pose questions that the text forces on you. So, is the ugly duckling's mother a good mother or a bad mother? You could argue both. But it teaches the children to go back into the text, to interpret the text, and then to derive their opinion based on facts. That's a rudimentary question in a very simple children's book, but it keeps developing year by year. We do the same thing with our staff now. Everybody on the staff has to be trained in junior grade books. So then when we're together, not every professional day, but maybe every other one, we will use some text, and usually you always have to use text that stretches you. The kind of stuff that if you read on your own, you just, oh geez, oh man, this is ridiculous. I can't understand what you're saying. So there's a little hint of philosophy in it, a little bit of theory in it. You don't quite understand. We did a paragraph at the opening workshop, just one paragraph. I put it on the board and we dissected it for an hour. And first you read it through and you think you know what it means. No, it doesn't mean that. It doesn't follow in the next section that this says that. So here we're doing what you would do with highly educated people, stretching their minds. You're teaching children that same thing, and of course at a age-appropriate level. So that's another signature program. Future problem solving is the same. They're right in the middle of. I was in the discussion yesterday. The kids are talking about the topic for this problem is vanishing languages and the impact on culture. As languages get lost, probably, your kids, you're probably worried two things. One, I want them to speak my language, number one. Number two, I want them to know our culture. You get in America and it just kind of gets absorbed. So it's an international problem, and it's a world problem, and it's a future problem. So the kids do, they research at it to the extent you can when you're middle school students. You're not going to go that deep with it. But it's learning how to attack contemporary problems. And then as a team, they give you an actual competition. There'd be 4 kids on a team, and you're given a future scenario. Some description of what might happen in 25 or 50 years related to that theme. And then based on all your research, you begin to say, based on what might happen, what are the potential problems? What are the challenges we're going to face? So stage 1 of the future problem-solving process is going through, you're trying to come up with at least 20 challenges. You get a 2-hour block of time, 4 kids. So what are all the possible challenges? Then based on all the challenges, you come up with called an underlying problem. Just think about what great thinking process this is. If you've ever sat down with your husband and thinking about the future of or wife and thinking about the future of your family, you're really doing the same thing. Okay, we might want to do this, we may want to do this, this could happen, that could happen, this could happen, that could happen. Okay, now let's put it all together. So for the next 2 years, we'll do this. It's, really high-level thinking. And anybody in any sort of profession, if you're at a high level, that's the kind of thinking you're doing. You're synthesizing all this information and saying, all right, let's attack it this way. We may not get to all the other peripheral issues, but this is going to get to the nub of it. Then the next section, you've got to come up with 20 ways to implement that. Drawing from economics, from education, from the business community. I think there's about 15 different topics. How you make different aspects of the world we live in address that problem. How you might be able to meet the need of that problem. Then the next step is you evaluate your solutions to the underlying problem. And then lastly, you choose the one. You do a graphic to see which one you rate them. There's a criteria scale. Then after you rate all the choices, then you pick one that gets the highest rating on your criteria, and then you write a 2-page explanation of how you would implement it. And then they give it to judges. There's about 30 of us in the state that do this on a regular basis. Here at Birchwood, Lorraine does it, my wife does it, I do it, and now we're bringing in a whole new team of teachers to learn how to do this judging process. So we'll go through and comment on the children's work. This is ridiculous, this makes no sense. Based on what do you say this? And we're very rough so that they learn to think. You know, they're children, so they have just wild ideas. You know, in the future, this just might fall into the middle, you know, there could be an earthquake and then the whole culture would disappear. You know, then the judge will write down, really? It's not reasonable. So and then every year there's 4 topics. And then on the third topic is what's called the state qualifier. If you score on team level 1 or team level 2, you're invited to the state level competition. Then that's an all-day affair. The kids just love it. They have a great time. And they gear it for kids to have fun. So that's another signature program.
Sounds very intense.
It's very intense, but you know what? So we have 7th and 8th graders, no, 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, and of all the students, there's only about 5 who don't sign up. Because they love it. You know, it goes to that same thing. You're not afraid of hard work when you discover how enjoyable it can be, or the result of it. Yeah, the work is hard. They've got to do extra homework. I mean, can you imagine that at Birchwood? And they do it.
But they're doing real life problems.
Oh, yes.
They're really well
Yep.
done. Are you going to run out of water? Are we going to have too many people?
Oh, they've done everything from space rubbish. You know, that is a problem, pending problem. Waste disposal is a worldwide problem. Clean water, potable water is a problem. Those are all topics that the kids explore. Yeah, and so, you know, the first time around, if your son or daughter says, that's more work. Yes, that's what but you'll enjoy it. Do it. Very seldom do I see kids, once they do it, very seldom do they see them drop out. It may be hard to get them in because everything here is more work. And you know, then there's a little process by we discover, you know, it is more work, but I like it. It's fun. So there's that one in History Day, and then I'll call all the math competitions, and you don't want me to talk about that because then I won't stop. And I mentioned Poetry Show and junior grade books. Yeah, these are the kind of things I wish I could tell every parent how much is available. It's just unbelievable. I'm saying that even though we're the ones who produced it. The opportunities the kids get. I mean, and we were driven because we wanted to do them for our kids, and now we're driven so that it just continues. The amount of values is huge. You get, the more you understand what we do, not just the day-to-day classroom activities, but underlined, meaning what do we believe about children? What do we believe about how to shape children's character? What do we believe about educating children? Gives you not just a bigger appreciation for the school, but a better handle on how to use the school to develop your child's potential. But you know, we've been working at this for more than 30 years, so you know, we've really put a lot of thought into every aspect of what we do. And we're always, this kind of goes to the next question someone asked about IB. Have you ever thought about implementing the IB program? Are you familiar with that? It's generally more popularized in the high school level. International Baccalaureate, and I think it's British, and its standards are often used in private schools worldwide, either English or American private schools, so that there is a standard of performance for children. And it's excellent. I don't know much about it on the primary level, primary middle school, but on the high school level, it's excellent. St. Edward's has an IB program. St. Shaker Heights has an IB program. I think I heard Westlake is implementing an IB program. It is excellent education at the high school level. I don't know about the elementary school level, and maybe I'll have a chance to comment why. I wonder about it yet. But as far as our participation, since IB at the elementary and middle school is relatively new, I asked the question, show me its value. Don't tell me how beautiful it is, how effective, or how creative it is, or how it leads into the high school IB program. I want to see what have kids done in their performance, what level of achievement have they reached when they're done in the 8th grade. Education is a world where there are millions of beautiful ideas that just go up in the puff. And one of the things we have been very careful about is not to jump on educational bandwagons. It's easy for somebody to say, we need to do this because this is more humane. This is more fits the American way of life, or this is more of a global approach. Okay, that may be. Can you show us how it has proved itself to be effective in educating children and developing their character? And a lot of times, these trends will pass, and the people who promoted them disappear, and the trend damaged the school. I'll give you two examples. You know, when the children are young, we use an eclectic approach to everything we do. We take the best from everybody. Well, when you teach reading, there's a lot of approaches to reading, but in the 70s, there was a push to throw out phonics and that children learn whole language approach, meaning you learn to read by recognizing whole words. You don't break them apart by sounding short A, long A, short A. Okay, that was the trend at that time. So, a state like California bought into the entire program, threw out phonics. For 25 years, they focused on whole language. Despite research, many times these educational trends will take a tiny piece of research, ignore everything else, and then you push it. And you've got the money and the weight to push it. Well, California pushed it. And prior to introducing whole language as the exclusive means to teach reading, they ranked first or second in the country in student performance on reading tests. After 25 years of throwing phonics out and just using whole language as their approach, they were 48th. You see the decline? And of course they've gone back now and they realize that no, it's somewhere in between. Whole language is valuable, but so is phonics. And so are the other strategies that you use to teach reading. Another one is the middle school movement. How many of you went to a junior high versus a middle school? Okay. What happened is some very, very legitimate research emerged, and it's kind of common sense. 12, 13-year-old children can't quite figure out who they are. They're trying to discover who they are. So they are just all over the place. Socially, emotionally, it's a transition time. I think you wouldn't even need to have any research to know that that in fact is the case. They have certain social needs at that time. They have certain emotional needs. Granted. So what happened? Take a small piece of research, push out the rest. What is this? This is not the time to insist on academic rigor. Let's drop the academic rigor, let's drop the academic standards, and let's focus on the social emotional needs. 35 years later, that's about what it is now, that whole trend is switching. That this was a huge mistake. Not taking care of emotional social needs, that's important. But you cannot throw out the rigor. There's, it's changed in the last 5 years, but junior high school, middle school after middle school after middle school, the complaint was, there's no academic standards, it's all mush. And then the high school teachers complain. We're getting kids unprepared for high school. So it's just another example of what we've been very cautious about is absorbing the research in education and child development that is true. Yet not having to say, okay, we've got to throw away everything else. That's why we use the phrase, when we're selecting curriculum, it is time-tested. Show us over time that this is effective in educating children and in shaping their character. And then it is research-based. Okay, let's see the data. Like recently I had a discussion with someone about homework. And their thing was, there's no research that shows homework is valuable in 1st and 2nd grade. I said, okay, show me the research. that says it's not valuable. Well, there were so many problems with the research. It was, and you may know this, you already come up with a philosophical view of what you want your research to say, and then you frame your questions to get there. So it was homework that, poorly designed homework. And then they conclude, homework is not valuable in first and second grade. My thing was, no, what's ineffective is poorly designed homework in first and second grade. Not the other way around. So, you know, we went back and forth on that. But that was another example. So why would we insist on homework? Number one, historically, time on task wins the day. The more time on task, the more successful you're going to be. Number two, our homework is to train children at an early age. I don't expect a lot of academic progress out of homework in first through fourth grade. All you're doing is 20 minutes, sit there, even if you're staring, that's okay. We're building habits.